I am super excited to bring you guys back for episode 2 of the podcast with RC Lending. That still doesn't have a name, but we're going to continue to record content for you guys. But I would say that I'm more excited to bring on an amazing guest for you guys, somebody who I can't even list out all of the things that you actually do, but the biggest one is I think you're just a driving force for people and culture and developing communities and really understanding how to tap in with the people that are around you and being able to elevate the people that are also around you. So I'm extremely excited. Donald Knight is a SVP for Warner Bros. Discovery, but he's done a lot of other things in the past, and he's serves as an advisor on a lot of different boards, works with a lot of tech founders, is in the VC space, and is overall, I think, just an amazing human being. He's a business mentor of mine that I had the pleasure to bring on stage last year. So I'm excited to have you with us as my second guest.
No, dude, I'm happy to be here. And choose my favorite number. I didn't know it was episode 2. That's why I choose my favorite number, man. Everything in my life happens in twos. All the things of meaning. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you. I feel like there's so many things that we can unpack. And I think the biggest thing that I really want people to take away is like how you're able to drive an amazing culture that is just producing at a really high value, like a high level. You see, I know you've had your experience in seeing a lot of different companies at different phases, from early startup levels to high companies that are high functioning, like your existing role. And I really want to unpack that from what your experience has been in working with those different levels and the takeaways that other people on the channel can kind of see it. I feel like a lot of my audience in the early stages of its growth right now are geared towards people that know they want to do something in entrepreneurship, or there's some sort of business oriented mindset that they have, and overall have a growth mentality. And I know that you can talk a lot about that with us.
Yeah, dude. No, it's funny. The timing is right on point. I was just talking to a CEO yesterday. This guy named Brendan. I'll make sure I send him this episode if that's cool too. Whenever y'all like distribute it. Because we were talking about this, like this whole, he's been a CEO before, inside of a business, right? So running a business unit before. He's been a president before. He was essentially like very shortlisted to be the successor for his last organization, and they ended up getting a strategic exit for $4 billion plus, and absolutely crushed it.
I hope we're not talking about Movement Mortgage.
No, not Movement. Oh, but no, I know the Movement guys too.
Okay, his name's Brendan. That's what I think. His name is also Brendan.
Yeah, you saw one of the co-founders are Casey and Toby Harris.
But one of their presidents had just actually recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's.
Oh, no.
That's what I was thinking. Like, that'd be so funny if it comes full circle.
No, it's not. But I do know Toby Harris. If you want me to connect, I do know the guys at Movement because it started in Virginia Beach. But no, this guy Brendan, he's in the financial services space.
Okay.
And was number 2. Worked his way up. Was number 2. Background was like private equity and all this other stuff. Like just a phenomenal force as a leader and really understands the numbers. And so we were talking yesterday because he's now CEO at an organization that they did basically like a strategic carve out as a business unit from a pretty large business. And I mean, he has the greatest energy around like growing his company. And so he's like, we're talking about culture, and he's like, what do you attribute that success to? And I was like, look, I think my job is to create an environment for high performance to exist. In a nutshell, that's all I've done. Like my goal is when I get there, figure out what are the impediments or the barriers to people really being able to maximize their potential and literally remove them out of the way. And sometimes that means, working on skills within themselves to make sure that they know, like, you're the person getting in your own way. Like you're great at execution, but you don't know how to talk to people, or you're highly collaborative, but you never get deadlines done on time. But my entire role in every space that I walk into is like, I want high performance to just happen around me. And I told him, I think it started when I was younger because my parents were both military. High performance was unacceptable. If you weren't doing high performance in the house, the bar of excellence, the standard of excellence was so high in my home that like, if you didn't achieve excellence, you were kind of like not just shunned, but disciplined for it. Right.
Yeah.
And so like, I've tried to apply that to every aspect of my life. And, he was like, so what do you like? What's your routine like? And I was like, I started a 4 a.m. club, bunch of guys get after it. So he said he's going to work out with me. So Brendan, whenever you say, okay, we got to have the session in. But I've even seen the guys that I work out with, like my buddy Mike was hitting chest maybe like once or twice a week. He wasn't improving his lifts. I'm like, dude, you're not getting after it, dude. You got to like create an environment for that performance to exceed. And, you know, shout outs to Mike. He's doing over 225 now, these 6 reps. So I think that's what people are missing when they go to work. For some reason, when we get to work, people feel like they have to have like the Mondays is a down day. I love Mondays. I mean, that's when I get to like, I've recharged all weekend. That's when I get to get after it and figure out, okay, how's Ricardo doing? How's Danielle doing? Like, what can I do to make sure that I'm creating an environment for them to succeed? And so it takes different shapes and forms. Sometimes it's compensation. Sometimes it's developing people. Sometimes it's coaching people. More often than not, it's coaching people. But yeah, like that's what I love to do every day. And I get to see so many people like really manifest their wildest dreams because I'm helping to contribute to that environment.
No, that's amazing. I feel like a part of what I've seen too is it requires a level of want and drive from that other person. And we were talking yesterday with Heinz about being able to be a good mentee. Do you feel like there's difficulty in that when you come into a new environment like that? There's people that are giving you that pushback. They don't want, those are people that don't have the growth mindset. How do you go about handling that?
Yeah, I think I mean, look, I think the responsibility falls on oneself, but I also think society has taught us that it's okay to not be teachable. Like, I think we keep telling everybody you have to have all the answers. And I disagree with that. Like, I am merely the reflection of humans and leaders that have poured into me along the way, but I had to be teachable. You have to be open enough to getting better. And so like I shared this with Brendan yesterday, but like there's 3 types of people that I typically keep around me at all times. The first group of people, I call them soundboards. These are people that are going through life with me. They're, you know, we probably entered parenthood around the same time. We probably entered marriage around the same time. And these are people that like, they're not that much wiser than me, but because they have so many different experiences and we're around the same age, I feel comfortable like just bouncing ideas off of them.
Yeah.
And then with me, I think the second group of people, I call them sandpaper. They're ahead of me in life. And so they can see like if Donald wants to achieve X, he has to start doing Y or stop doing Y. And so they like smooth out my edges. People who smooth out my edges in fatherhood, in leadership, in being a big brother, in being a husband. But they're like, those are like sandpaper for me. And then my favorite humans, I love all of them, but my favorite humans, I call them like senseis. They're so far ahead of me in life and they are where I aspire to be. But they don't view me as competition. In fact, they get more joy out of pouring into me and making me better. And they're typically, you know, 15 plus years older than me. But, you know, folks like Lisa Chang or Buddy Gaddams, these are humans that have like legit steered my life in a meaningful way by simply pouring back into me. But you got to be teachable for that.
Yeah.
Like no one wants to pour into an arrogant person that is hubris or thinks they know it all. And I think we have to start creating those environments more, which is like, how do you make it cool to learn? How do you make it, you know, cool for people to be taught and learn different things? And I mean, even you, man, I mean, you've done this for me. Like I consider you a soundboard, but you've taught me more about alternative ways of maximizing my own real estate portfolio, which is not by far, it's not the most vast portfolio in the world, but like getting me to think about like not doing flips or doing more buy and hold or what's a DSCR loan. Like I didn't know any of that stuff before. Like I crushed it in corporate. But you got to be teachable for that. Like if I was just arrogant all the time, like I'm sure you wouldn't have given me those gems. So I think we got to just make learning cool all over again. And we should constantly be learning. And once people find out that you're teachable, you become worthy of people investing in you and depositing insight into you. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like, I believe in a lot in the law of attraction. And I feel like if we're in a mindset of learning, in a mindset of wanting to get more information and just figuring out ways that you can provide value, like it ends up coming back to you full circle. One of my very first mentors became my mentor simply because I continued to hound him down and I went to every single real estate event until he finally paid attention to me. And then I worked for free for his team for 6 months. And like those 2 things I think are very, very uncommon things that you hear nowadays. I think mainly because of social media, everybody thinks that I should just be deserving of X, Y, and Z. When if you can shift the mindset more of in a learning phase, it helps develop that more.
Yeah, the persistence also, I think, really speaks to how much you wanted to learn and be taught, even if it meant not making a dime, because you were making way more than that in what you were learning and being able to glean firsthand. One of my favorite stories is about Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, which essentially makes him the CEO of the NFL. And while his father was very big in like business and politics, the reason he was able to get his internship at the NFL, the commissioner then told him, is because he contacted him 52 times. And so, like, imagine if you would have given up at like 49 or 50 or 51. And I think there's something about, again, like, if people are that hungry to learn and want to like manifest being their best selves ever, there should be a certain level of intentionality that you see in their daily habits and actions. And, kudos to him. I mean, now, he's making 40 million plus. He has one of the most profitable sports leagues on the planet. He's still not liked by all, and that's okay.
That's okay.
Like, Roger knows what he's doing. So yeah, shout out to Goodell. That's cool.
No, that's awesome. What do you feel is one of the things that have attributed for your success? And if you were to have all of it removed, stripped away, and you needed to get back to where you're at, what are some of the things that you would do?
Yeah, I think the number one testament to my success is relationships. It starts with my creator. I'm very big on faith, and I do believe that the universe is conspiring to make sure that I am successful because I'm very faithful with the little things that I've been given. And then, to your point about like giving, I try to give as much as I can. And then as a result, I feel like I attract even more. So like one of the things I do, Jay Hines knows this, but before I go shopping, I clear out my closet. Like you got to create space for new things.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I try to do is like, how can I take something that I have and it be a blessing to someone else? But I learned that from a relationship. There was a gentleman that I know named Scott Ridgel, 3-time congressman, never lost a congressional race, made all his money, most of his money in cars. And, he talked about, like, he said he was going to start this group called Guiding Young Men with one of my frat brothers and best friends, Esmail. And like, I was the only person that didn't live in the region. I had to like drive like 2.5, 3 hours on a Saturday morning. And my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, thought I was absolutely crazy. But I felt like I've never been that connected to someone successfully in business. And I was super young. So I was like, I want to go do it. And so I get there and I thought he was just going to teach us like how to make millions of dollars. And he didn't. Like he focused on character and integrity and the importance of relationships. And for him to like ground me in that, I think it allowed my success to like catapult because I realized it's all about relationships, like your relationship with your creator, your relationship with those people around you, your relationship with mentors. And how you treat people is super important. My grandfather used to say, the only thing more important than the first impression is the last impression. And so, when you ask the question, what if I lost it all today? I think I would gain all of it back, probably 10x, mainly because I know how to treat people. The guy that I met yesterday, Brendan, I don't know if we're going to do business together or not. I do know he's a solid human being. I liked our conversation. And I told him at the end of the conversation, like, dude, even if we don't do business together, like you and I are going to stay connected because you're a good human.
Yeah.
Now, if we end up doing business together, then this serves as like, vision casting a little bit because, we hadn't like signed on the dotted line to do anything meaningful together. But I think it goes back again to relationships. How do you treat people? Can you keep your word? Do you deliver on what people say? And if you treat people a certain type of way, I think you can always attract money, but I'd much rather have relationships over money any day of the week. So if you take it all today, as long as I can build relationships with people, I'd make all the money back.
I love that answer because I feel like it's something that people nowadays don't focus on, especially through social media and trying to either stay at like a superficial level or just not allowing themselves to continue to grow because of the fact that they don't know how to work on that aspect, right? Like of being able to build relationships.
Yeah, I think again, I think it goes back to like this false sense of arrogance that a lot of people that are successful are exuding in shared spaces like social networks. Like they're telling you, "Oh, I'm self-made." There's no such person as self-made, man. No one's self-made. Like everybody who has made it has done so based on the relationships and connections they have with others. Sometimes that means you get burned. More often than not, if you're a good person, you won't be. Mm-hmm. But like, when I'm talking to Howard Schultz, like Howard Schultz almost didn't get the Starbucks deal done. People don't realize that. Like, he worked there, head of business development. He goes to Italy on a business trip. He comes back, says we need to do coffee houses. The people he's working with, they're like, absolutely not. We're not going to do any coffee houses, which sounds ludicrous right now, right? Because everybody goes to Starbucks.
Right at the
he starts his own coffee company. A couple years later, the founders say they want to sell the company. He didn't have 3.6 million, 3.8 million lying around. He goes to do some capital fundraising to see if he could put the money together, put the deal together. One of the investors who already had money was going to oust him from his own deal. Anybody who bumps into Howard Schultz, you can ask him this. Like, this guy's one of the most humble humans I've ever met. And the guy who ended up saving that deal, Bill Gates' father. If you haven't done homework on Bill Gates' father, the way you turn into Bill Gates is you have Bill Gates' father as your father. His dad was like one of the most notable attorneys in Seattle, Washington. He literally, Howard goes to talk to the guy, and he's telling him the story. And Bill Gates' father walks with him out of his office, crosses the street, goes up the stairs to like essentially like this big corporate office, walks into the office of the gentleman trying to oust Howard from his own deal and said, "You leave that man alone. Like, that's his deal. Leave him alone." If that doesn't happen, we don't get the Starbucks that we have today.
Wow.
So it's all based on relationship. And I think the fact that Howard is willing to tell that story publicly is a testament to who he is and the humility that he has, that he didn't just say, I'm a self-made guy, you know, I did it all by myself. Like, no, like, it's like relationships. And so all of us in some way, form, or fashion, if we really look back on all of our success, there's always been a ripple effect of the relationships that we have. And so for me, that's why they're paramount for me, which is why when I pull up to San Francisco, I hit you up. And whether you're available or not, like, dude, if we can grab some food, we can. Doesn't always have to be business, but the relationship matters to me. So
100%. Yeah. That's amazing. I want to tie that in with, I feel like a lot of the things that you have talked about around the way that you teach your kids with how much knowledge and the learning experiences that you've had, but how that might also relate for you with developing teams. Because I feel like that's something that I'm also learning now as like a new chapter for myself as a developing leader, is like developing the team aspect. And I don't have kids yet, but that would be another aspect of like a way to transfer the knowledge.
Yeah. I think so. I equate everything to sports. I think your family is your ultimate team, or at least it has the possibility to become your ultimate team. And what do I mean by that? Like, even with my son, like, he sees me and his mom, my wife is a pharmacist, and he's like, Dad, you're always on the road. You're always grinding. I feel like you know all these like people and have all these relationships. I'm like, yeah, but don't get it twisted, dude. Like, while I might be the driver behind the wheel, your mom runs pit stop. And so in order, like, I don't know when the wheels need to, like, when the tread is done or when you need to swap things out. She's running pit row, and she tells me like, hey, like, you've been gone 3 nights this week. You know, Dalen's having a little attitude, or he needs you to show up at school for, you know, this event. Or, hey, our neighbor was saying that they're looking at a potential job, and I know you know the CHRO. Can you talk to our neighbor? Like, my wife is like the one that has, essentially, I tell her she's the king of the king, man. Like, she's the one calculating everything. But in order for our family team to work, she needs me to drive, and I also need her to run pit row. And I think when you think about business is the same way. Like, we all have different skill sets that contributes to the overall team success. And when that is missing, you feel it, right? When you live out in the Bay, Golden State just lost. They missed something from Steph. There was a glue factor that he provided beyond like his talent. Like, there was a glue factor that he provided that was missing. And you can tell, like, the one game they won against the Timberwolves he played in, and the ones that he didn't, they lost all of those. And so I think trying to identify, okay, how do these pieces come together to form the puzzle is super important. And you gotta allow people to operate in their zone of genius. So like, when I'm building teams at work, I'm trying to figure out what is it that you're good at, and I want you to do that. And we will build the things around you in order for everything else to be successful. Before we started rolling, you were talking about Ayla, my former EA, and more than that, she's a really, really close family friend now, thanks to business. But like, I'm not organized on my calendar. I suck. Like, she's the one that she kept me aligned. And, my current EA, Pauline, like, I made sure that they connected in order to make sure, hey, this aspect of my life, that's not my zone of genius. I need your help in that regard.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're thinking about building teams, people have to, number one, be open and honest about what they're really, really good at. They have to be open and honest about the things that they want to improve upon. And then the last thing you got to do as leaders is then figure out, how do I build out the team around them? And there's a stat, I think it was McKinsey that did the study. Most teams that have more than 3 superstars, they fail. In fact, their winning percentage actually declines
Interesting.
when you have more than 3 superstars. And the reason why is because everybody wants to be the superstar, right? And so you need other people to fill that out. If you go look at the LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade experiment, right? The Heatles is, I guess, what they called themselves. They went to 4 championships, but they only won 2, right? And the guy who had the highest plus minus, meaning when this guy was on the floor, the team performed better, was not LeBron James, was not Dwayne Wade, was not Chris Bosh. Do you know who that player was? Shane Battier. Now, anybody who knows anything about Shane Battier, he went to one of the most fundamentally sound basketball programs on the planet, which I would argue is probably like Duke, North Carolina, Michigan State, like notable schools. But when he got on the floor, he was so comfortable in his zone of genius of making everybody else better and trying to guard the best player that the superstars were willing to listen to him. And so what I tell people is like, stop focusing on just going to get the Dwayne Wades, the LeBron James, and the Chris Boshes. How do you make sure you got Shane Battiers on your team? You got to fill that team out. And I'm really, really good. God has blessed me in business to be really, really good in helping people figure out what are the roles that people can play? How do we focus on their development areas, but build the right teams around them for the team to be successful?
Yeah. I think that's very powerful, mainly for like having the support is extremely important for the success of the overall team. What are some ways that you feel like you've been able to distinguish that? Like, and is that just right off the bat, you're like, in the first 30 seconds, I'm able to tell this is where this person's gonna be able to go? Or is it like personality assessments? Because I've done a lot of, I've used the DISC profile a lot. Yeah, not only for me as like a salesperson with my clients to understand it, but also with the team.
Yeah. Do I have a powerful 30-second discernment super gene? If I did, I probably should go into business for myself and just, sell my time at 30 seconds at a premium. No, I don't have that. I do think that, my friend Sean Murray would talk about this often. He would say, I do think the beauty that comes with having experience is you have pattern recognition. And so you can see certain patterns in the way that people navigate based on other people you might have navigated in the past. And so once you recognize that pattern, yes, it is easier to discern how to like help those folks or develop those folks. But I think more importantly, like when I think about like how I've been able to like provide value to the team or round out the team, you have personality tests, you got Hogan's assessment, you got MBTI, you got DISC. All of those are pretty cool. The one that I lean on the most though is Clifton Strengths. So you go look at Strengths Finders and remember that.
Yep.
Because I don't necessarily need to know what you suck at. Like I need to know what you suck at in order to build the rest of the team out. What I really need to know is like, where do you thrive? And like one of my friends, he's a chef. Matter of fact, the restaurant we're going to tonight, Chef Matt, he can't wait to see you all. But Chef is phenomenal at creating menus from scratch that allows blending of different cultures, and he expresses that in cuisine form. Chef Matt is phenomenal at that. And you're going to find that out tonight. So is your team. What he's not good at is like, did he order eggs?
Yeah.
He doesn't like making the same food over and over again. So more often than not, he's always working on whatever's new on the menu. And he has chefs that are in training that are making the dishes that are like staples to the menu. It just doesn't excite him.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I love about Strength Finders is I want to know like, where do you crush it at? And I can solve for all the other stuff, right? Mark Cuban said 90% of what you should do with your time is what you're great at. And then you got to make sure the 10% that you're not good at doesn't harm you. So like my wife knows, like I'm a phenomenal communicator at work, which means at home, I'm going to suck at communication. I just do. So she was like, well, how do we like mitigate against that? Because like we can't be successful if you don't know how to communicate.
Of course.
So I have a group chat with my wife with both of my phones and just for one phone. And I probably more than texting myself, because I do text myself for checklists, but more than that, I probably text my wife more than I actually speak to her out loud. But because it's my way of making sure that like, hey, who's picking up the kids or who's picking up dinner or grocery or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's how we mitigate against that 10%.
Yeah.
She's like, why do you think that is? Like, you communicate so good at work. Like, I hear people talk about it. I was like, oh yeah, well, I empty the tank at work. So by the time I get home, like, I don't want to be a great communicator.
Yeah.
And so we've like figured out a way to like make that work for us. And I think other teams have to do that where they're at work. You got to figure out where do they crush it? What are their strengths? And then you build up the team around them to make sure that they can, solve for the things that are not so good.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I've been learning that more and more because I feel like I've been easiest way that I've been able to, I think, verbalize it is like you can't go from being a quarterback to then also being the coach and learning right away and being able to navigate, building out a sales team, building out the support staff, having the people who could do IT related tasks, marketing and social media and all of these other things. What are your suggestions in that regard for somebody who's going from the quarterback to being the coach?
Well, I mean, very few quarterbacks can make the leap to being a coach. So I think first and foremost, it's like you have to ask yourself, why are you trying to change your position? And be open-minded enough to figure out if you should or should not. I had this conversation recently with a CEO. He was like, you've worked for founders, you've worked for CEOs. What have you learned? I was like, oh, what I've learned is I think it's easier for a CEO to become a founder. I think it's extremely difficult for a founder to become a CEO because the things that make you phenomenal at being a founder aren't the things that necessarily make you phenomenal at being, a chief executive officer. They're just fundamentally just very different roles. I think there is some people that are able to cross that chasm, but many people don't. So my first suggestion would be figure out, do you need to switch positions? And the reason why you want to switch positions, because more often than not, you probably don't need to. I think the second one, though, is if you are going to cross that chasm, you got to make sure that you do a great inventory on what are the expectations of the folks that are able to deliver in that new position, and then figure out how do you go build that strength, right? Being a quarterback, you got to read defenses all the time. You're only playing one side of the ball. It's offense. You got to make calculated risk, but it's all in the name of scoring. When you're a coach, you got to prevent scoring. It's just fundamentally different. It's the reason why a lot of the experts at their craft, they get into positions of leadership and leading other people, and they wonder why they struggle. It's like, no, you were great at execution. That doesn't necessarily mean you're great at leadership. Some of my favorite salespeople should never lead a sales team because they're phenomenal at building relationships and getting people to sign on the dotted line, and they can do challenger sales, and they can do but like you talk about leading people and having empathy for like Johnny who just lost his dog, or Catherine who wants to become a mom, but she's your number one producer. Like they don't necessarily have that skill set. And so I think number one is like figuring out why you want to make the position switch. If so, figuring out what are the things that make that person or make people in that role particularly thrive. And then the last thing, which is probably one of the most humblest things you have to do, is then go find the help needed for you to go address those areas. And like for me, like I have more coaches and mentors than probably the average human, but it's because I'm that committed to performance. Like I want to be such a high performer that like I feel good when people affirm me by telling me what I'm not good at. Tell me where I suck. And like even if I never get better there, I'm gonna mitigate it by putting someone in that position to like cover my six or handle the things that I'm not thriving in. But those are probably the three biggest things. Is like challenge yourself to figure out, do you need to make the position change? And if you do want to make that change in spite of that, figure out what excellence looks like and then go address those areas.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've had such high level of importance on having coaches since you were younger? Or is that something that you feel like you developed more as you got into more executive level roles?
Yeah, um, probably all of the above. I think there is a superpower that humans have when you play sports because you naturally have to learn how to like play on a team. And so you're constantly being coached because naturally the team isn't perfect.
Yeah.
So I've been ridiculed since I was, younger because I always played sports. So like, I can run a 10-9 and Coach Brown would be like, I ain't fast enough. Or you're like, your baton exchange is the reason we lost that 4x1. And I'm like, but I ran a 10-9. He was like, but we lost.
Where we lost.
Right. So like, yes, I think growing up playing sports helped. I think the other thing though is like being in leadership early on, I have typically been on the younger side of the leaders in the room, which often means everyone in the room automatically believes they know more than me. And here's the kicker. Most of the time, they do. They actually do, right? And so listening to them on how to avoid certain pitfalls or how to make sure I'm maximizing the opportunity that is in front of me, I really attribute to those people. So yeah, I feel like whatever you get rewarded for, whether it's whatever habit or behavior you get rewarded for, you're more inclined to perform that way because you were rewarded for it. Right. So I'll give you an example of what I mean, both negative and positive. Here's a negative one. Me and my mom, we were talking. She was like, I don't understand why people join gangs. And I was like, I didn't. She was like, what? I was like, yeah, it's a family structure. Like you're rewarded for whatever you do in service to the unit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, sometimes that means you're committing crime, but like I get the luxury or the positive illusion of being in a game because it's like you get rewarded for certain behaviors and habits. Don't listen to that and say you should go join a gang. That's not the intention. But the intention is like sometimes negative behavior can get positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
And if you receive positive reinforcement of negative behavior, you're more inclined to commit that negative behavior. I think the same thing can be said for positivity, which is I have been rewarded for addressing gaps in my life or gaps in my performance. I've been rewarded for that because I get more responsibility, more exposure, and I'm able to perform at a much higher level. And so because of that, I seek it out. Like Joe will tell you, he works out with me, Doc, and some of these other guys. Like when I go to the gym, they'll hear me say this. I want to die in the gym. And they're like, what do you mean? Like the whole point of coming here is to touch the red line.
Yeah.
I didn't come in here to like look at anybody else. I didn't come in here to like, date or no. I'm there at 4 a.m. There's barely any people in there, especially the people that, most people try to find attractive. They're not in there that early. Only the crazies go at that time.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm there. I want to be around the crazies. I want to be around the guy that's going to be like, there's a guy named Sieg. We got to connect you with him. He's a realtor. He's a teacher full time, but he's a realtor on the side. And like I saw this guy doing like 500 pull-ups.
Oh man.
And I'm like, dude, like, how do I do that? And he was just like, dude, you're like, your hands are going to callous over. And like, he was telling me about this guy named knees over toes guy on Instagram and how he's big on flexibility and calisthenics. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how old are you, dude? He's like, I'm 52. And I'm like, I'm not 52, but when I'm 52, I want to look like you. So like, now he's like amped me up at a whole nother level. Doc is like, yo, all of our lifts were already crazy. Why are you doing that? And I'm like, because of Sieg, man. You got to see Sieg. And so it's just, for me, it's like I've been rewarded for that, though. And so that's why I seek it out. And if you haven't been rewarded for that, you might be reluctant to address those gaps or those areas that you're not performing. But I would tell you, then change the people you're around. Be around the people that's going to challenge you to be your best. And when you get that positive reinforcement, it'll only make you more teachable. You'll be even more open to new ideas of how do you manifest higher performance.
That's amazing. It's about challenging, right? Like I feel like people have a tendency not to create challenges for themselves or self-motivation in that regard, but you kind of flipped it on its head and made it like a reward system to continue to excel in the categories where you might not be doing the best or where you could be doing better.
Well, yeah, and society rewards you for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so like my cousin Sean, he doesn't have siblings. We treat him like he's a brother, right? So his kids call me like uncle. And I remember we went down to his house. He lives on the beach in Florida. And he's always lived in like nice areas because his parents were Navy. So we pull up to his house. Now he's married with 2 kids. And we're about to get in his, he has a beautiful pool in his backyard. And he's like, dude, how much do you weigh now? And I'm like, 192. He was like, there's no way. Like, I weigh 192. Now, mind you, he's like 6'1", 6'2". And I'm like, are you saying I'm fat, bro? He was like, dude, there's no, if I'm 192, you're way more than that. And like, he just sent me down this dark path. Like, I took that as ridicule. And like, I went back and I was like, I vowed to myself, he will never question how fit I am again. And he was like, dude, that's not even what I was saying. I was like, in my mind, that's what you were doing, dude. So like, next time I saw him, when we flew into Florida, I traveled with just a tank top on. He's like, dude, put your muscles away. I'm like, no, bro. Yeah. I was like, how much you think I weigh now, bro? And he's like, I don't know. He was like, you're probably like 200 plus. I'm like, nah, man, I'm 184 and I'm bigger than you. Now what? And so like, he's like, dude, like, what's your regimen? What are you even doing? What are you eating? But I got positive reinforced. Now, was he really trying to like hurt his cousin's feelings? Like, no. But like for me, channeling ridicule or channeling gaps in my performance as like a positive way is like, how do I turn him back into a fan? So I'm not going hard enough in the gym if he thinks I'm not fitter than him. And so like now that's what it's about. And like, now he's just like, yo, dude, you got to like chill out, man. You're doing too much. And I'm like, nah, it's not enough. Like every time I see you, I want you to be reminded of what you said to me. And like, so that's for me, again, that's where the reinforcement comes from. Yeah. Like imagining your business to somebody who's like, yeah, you'll never do 15 billion in sales. Oh man, you know how motivating that would be?
I'm in there. Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Or they say you can't afford that car, or you'll never be able to grow your team, or you'll never be nationwide. Like what? Okay. Thank you. I need that.
Yeah.
That's the motivation, man. So yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that are challenging in that regard. So I like the fact that you said to change your circle, because people oftentimes will put themselves in an environment where they're just reinforced to continue to do the things that they're already doing, not to reinforce the things that they're not actually doing.
Yeah.
And what do you feel like is a way that people can find those circles? Because we talked about that yesterday with the standard, right? Like how that's something that we believe a lot with the men of the standard, but even just outside of that, I think it's hard for people to find it.
Yeah, look, so you talked about the law of attraction earlier. I think you attract what you want to become. And high performers like being around high performers. Like my wife and I, we were laughing about this. Well, one of my good friends, matter of fact, Chris, the one that you're talking to, him and his wife, they came down here and visited some of their friends, and we ended up doing like a couples brunch. And his wife was just like, yo, I didn't realize how much I didn't have like dope couples around me in Virginia until I went to brunch with you all. Cause like every couple was super cool. And I'm not saying like if you're in a relationship, you can hang out with single people. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying, like I believe high performing couples hang around high performing couples. I believe people with high integrity hang out with people with high integrity. If you want to crush it in real estate, you're probably going to have a bunch of friends that work in real estate. I just think you attract what you become. And so if you're trying to figure out like, how do I do that? The beautiful thing, at least in this country and in the world for the most part, but particularly the United States, is like, we love to like tell the world of our successes. So if you're trying to figure out which realtor, like if you're trying to get into, real estate, you're trying to figure out which realtor or which developer is crushing it in your town locally, guess what? Just Google it. Like they tell you who does the big deals. Every local community tells you that. Or like, you want to know who sold that last luxury house? They probably put a sign up.
Yeah.
Likely.
Yeah.
Right? The breadcrumbs are there, like Hansel and Gretel. You can follow the breadcrumbs of success because at least, in the modern world, we give them to you. We let you know who you want to be like. And so for me, that's what I tried to do. Like I remember looking at HR Executive Magazine and figuring out, even in grad school, who were the most highest paid CHROs. I wanted to know. I wanted to know what company they were at. I wanted to know what their resumes looked like. And everything people were telling me to do in my career that were not that, I did the opposite. So everybody was like, oh, you got to stay at a company for 5 years, 7 years. No, if you go look at the folks that are crushing it in that profession, they move every 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3.
So like, clearly you're not what I'm trying to become. I don't look down on you. Like I think we all put our pants on one leg at a time. So like, I don't look down on anybody, but that's not who I'm aspiring to be like. The people I'm aspiring to be like those are the people that I'm looking up to. And so those are the folks that I'm trying to mirror their moves and learn from their moves. And, whether you're Jennifer Rimling or you're Lisa Chang or you're Jackie Canny, like these are like titans in my space. Like, yeah, I'm learning from them. Those are the leaders I want to be like. Dean Carter, like I've been studying these folks for a while. And, one day I hope, someone on the rise will be studying me. But I do believe those blueprints are out there. And so if you're trying to figure out how to attract those folks, figure out who those folks are in your local community, and then, go the Roger Goodell method. If it takes you 52 times till you land one of those people in your circle, do so. Do whatever it takes.
Yeah. And just getting into the environment. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's even more dope that you continue to have the people that you aspire towards, regardless of what level you're at. Especially for somebody like yourself who's going to continue to have that success. What are some things that you're excited for in the coming quarters, or anything that you're working on?
Oh man. All right. So I'm excited. I'm excited about a lot. There's a lot of work that I've been doing in my current organization that I think is going to be like pretty amazing. Like just to be able to see like some of the greatest creators achieve some of the things that they've been working on. So guys like James Gunn and Superman this summer, I'm super excited about that because he's just a very humble guy. You couldn't tell this guy is like such a phenomenal, dope creative, but as a co-CEO of DC Studios, but on a human level, he's just a really genuine guy, like a really, really good guy. And so I'm excited for the world to be able to see his creation because I know how much time he put into it. And so that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. I think in my personal life, I'm super excited about my daughter's already running and talking or running and walking. I can't wait for her to like talk and say that hurts. Because one of the beautiful things about having children is like you get to see the development of another human. And like I remember like when she was just a thought, and then she became a reality, and then she was finally here. And like to see her coming into her own, like I can't wait to like figure out what I can do to help her in her performance. I think I'm doing that now just because, I got her first walker, and I used to walk her across the cabinet top until she could like stand, and then now she's running all over the place. So my wife is probably mad at me for that. But I'm excited about her development. I'm super excited about my son's development. He's finishing middle school. Today's his last day in middle school. He has 2 exams next week. And
he's excited for sure.
Yeah, man. Most people have heard me talk about Dalen, but like I think he is the greatest. I think my kids are going to be the greatest versions of humans because of the humans we surround them with. And so, he's about to come into his own, man. He's going to high school, starting linebacker. He's already ranked second in the state for wrestling. And I'm ready to like see him like take that monster leap. Like, I feel like the way Dion and LeBron or LeVar Ball felt about their kids, like I feel like he's about to take that leap. I'm excited about that. And then there's a ton of like creative things that I'm doing. I've been writing more, which is pretty cool. We'll figure out if those things turn into books or turn into creations. But I'm excited about that as well. So tons of things to be excited about, like in my own personal life. And then last but certainly not least, the people around me. Like I feel like my circles are they're overlapping more. So like you and Chris talking about DSCR, I think that's pretty cool. And he got a couple land deals that we should talk offline. But I feel like my world's colliding in a positive way. I know like a ton of developers. We've been looking at making meaningful investments in the global South, and like taking Tim down there and being able to connect him with those developers and trying to figure out what a syndication deal is going to look like and starting our own private equity. Like those are the things that are like super excited, but I'm excited because my communities are coming together. And I think I already feel like I know the most amazing people on the planet, but when those people get to see how amazing those other people are, it's like Zen for me.
Yeah, that's right. The master connector.
Yeah, man.
Well, I very much appreciate having you on, especially for our second pod, and overall just because I think you're an amazing person, and I appreciate the value that you're able to provide. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on all the socials. Donald F. Knight. The F is not for Francis, it's for Franklin. So Donald F. Knight. I'm on all socials. And then I think last but certainly not least, like if you're plugged into RC Lending, like they always have my contact information. We can easily connect that way. I do have one challenge though. Before y'all leave Atlanta, I want to be able to give y'all 3 names for this podcast because I think branding is super important. And I think, you all are going to make meaningful impact in the lives of your listeners. And so we got to make sure that we're intentional about like, how do we brand that? So Joe would tell you, like, I whiteboarded with him for 6 months and I branded the standard, even though it's not my dream, it's his dream along with the feast. I'm glad that they like that name. And I do think they are setting a new standard for guys. And so I'm very interested in making sure before this ended, before y'all leave Atlanta this weekend, you, Lady D, and the team, we got to make sure y'all approve the podcast name. We're going to get y'all at this 3 names to work with.
I love that.
Cool, man.
Thank you, Doug.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I fucked up too. I'm better fuck on a friend and attend it out GT cool.